Okay, hi everyone. Oh, we don't have anyone on there yet. Okay, so I'll wait a few minutes. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I am going to wait another minute before we get started. I see we have 25 people logged on tonight, so we will be getting started shortly. Okay. And if I turn off the camera, don't worry, I am still here. Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the UC application webinar. My name is Jennifer Manzanares. I am a Futurology college and career counselor with the Capistrano Unified School District, and I am also a UC admissions reader. For those of you joining us tonight, would you kindly share in the chat box on the right what high school you're joining us from and what UCs you're potentially applying to? Go ahead and type it in on the right-hand side in the chat box for us. Oh, and if I close out my camera, I don't want you to panic. I am still here with you, okay? So again, at this time, if anybody wants to share what school they're joining us from and what UCs they're applying to, that would be awesome. Hi, Tarek. I see that you're from San Juan Hills. I was just there earlier today. Connor, awesome. Applying to UCLA, Santa Cruz. Welcome, Jen. Hi, Matthew. Okay, we've got a couple of students from San Clemente High School. Awesome. Hi. We have Ty representing Tesoro. Julie from Dana. Awesome. Great. I see Marjorie. Okay, I see a couple more students interested in UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara. Wonderful. Okay, great. Thank you all for doing a nice little shout out to your school, and thank you once again for joining us. Thank you, Hannah, Katie, Bridget. Awesome. Okay, so before we begin tonight, I want to also let you know that we are being joined by another Futurology counselor. Her name is Naomi Tran. She will be joining us. There she is, just saying hello. She will be helping you troubleshoot if you have any issues. I did also post, although you may not see it right now, if you scroll all the way back down, I did post a little tiny chat at the beginning where you can designate a question by marking the little bubble next to it as a question. If you have any issues, please refresh your page. Try joining us on a Chrome browser if you're not already, since that one is the best one for our platform. And towards the end, there will be a Q&A portion as well. So if I don't get to your question throughout the presentation, please bear with me. We will try to get to them towards the end of the presentation tonight, okay? Okay, so in addition to the chat and the presentation, I will be providing a few handouts throughout the webinar. If you have any issues downloading them, please don't worry. I will also include them in a follow-up email with the PowerPoint slides themselves. This webinar will be recorded and available on our website within a couple days. So if you know a few students who were not able to join us right now, please let them know that this information will be accessible to them. And before we get started, I would like to do a little poll about some UC rumors going around. So you all are such great participants. Let's see if you can also keep the momentum going with this poll here. So go ahead and respond to this question. Go ahead and vote whether you think it's true or false. Is it easier for out-of-state and international students to be admitted since they have to pay more? What do y'all think? True or false? Okay, very cool. I see it kind of tiptoeing towards one way and the other. Give you all one more second. Oh, I see a few more people still responding. Interesting. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to go ahead and end this poll here and show you all the results. So for those of you that responded false, you are actually correct. So priority is given first and foremost to California residents. In fact, 90% of UC undergraduates are California residents. So good job, you got that one right. Thank you all for participating. And now let's do one more question here. This is, again, common questions that we hear that we have to kind of dispel these myths, right? So here's another one. If one campus admits me, oh, there you go, now you can see it. If one campus admits me, I am less likely to be admitted to another UC campus. Okay, so I think everyone voted already, and you may have already guessed it. That is false. So students' applications will be sent to the campuses that he or she designates when they apply, and campuses will consider it simultaneously yet independently of one another. So therefore, what that means is if you apply to UCLA, they don't care if you're applying to UC Berkeley or UCI, right? They will all look at you independently from one another. All right, awesome. You all are a great group of students. One last question for y'all. I'm curious to see where you all stand on this. It is easier to transfer from another 4-year to a UC. What do you all think? Go ahead and cast your vote. There are many students and families that ask this question. Okay, I'm going to give you all a couple more seconds, and then we're going to go ahead and end the poll here. Okay, so you all were almost split across the board on whether it was true or false. And actually, the correct answer is it is false. So if you had this in mind as an option, please reconsider. Okay, community college transfer students have priority over transfer students from other 4-year universities. So keep Counseling 100 and California Promise in mind if you had the transfer option in mind. Okay, great. Thank you all for participating. Now that we are aware of some of these misconceptions, we can go ahead and move back to focusing on the UC application itself. So, okay, the purpose of tonight's webinar is to give you some effective strategies on how to successfully complete the different sections of the UC application to essentially make yourself a competitive applicant. Throughout the webinar, I will be pointing out some common mistakes students tend to make on their applications. So stay with me and listen carefully. This webinar will be recorded and accessible on our webinar locker, as I mentioned. And we will be focusing on a few different parts of the UC application tonight. I will talk about some best practices when applying to UCs, highlight different sections, and dive in a little bit more detail when talking about the activity section and personal insight questions. At the end of the webinar, I will share more details regarding Futureology support. Now, before you begin your UC application, it is important to gather important documents ahead of time, so it is easily accessible when filling out your college applications. This includes unofficial transcripts from all the schools you attended if you went to different high schools, This includes SAT, ACT test scores, AP exams, knowing if you're planning on retaking the exams, keeping a list of your awards and honors handy, accessing your extracurriculars, volunteer work. Another item you want to be aware of is your household income and family information. So you may need some help with this from your family. As the saying goes, early bird gets the worm. So begin your applications early, right? If you haven't already, this is a good time to get started so you have more time to work on them. Another great tip is to schedule time to work on your applications, right? Life happens and we all get busy. So be sure to set time aside specifically for college applications so you have enough time to review them and ask others for feedback. If you're like me, when something is on your calendar, it takes priority over other things. So this is also a great way to make the college application process less stressful, and you can work on it in chunks of time. Just be sure to click save and continue at after every session that you work on this so that everything that you input is always saved. Okay, and so you all may be aware already that there are 9 campuses in the UC system, right, and 1 application. However, I do want to mention the importance of best fit, right? Best fit matters, so apply accordingly. We tell this to all of our students over and over, the importance of doing your research. You must look for campuses that are a good fit for you. Keep in mind, even though you're applying to, different UCs, they are all different from one another, from size to location to specialties, right? For example, UC San Diego is a powerhouse for computer science, whereas UC Davis agriculture and pre-vet programming is super awesome. And in addition, keep in mind that some majors may require a supplemental application, such as UCLA's nursing program or Berkeley's MET program for those interested in business. Some majors may require auditions, such as dance or music. Therefore, you need to look into that to see if you need to sign up for that. Some audition processes do require submission of the UC application prior to signing up. So please do your research so you know of what your to-do items are. Now, aside from applying to the UCs, I do want to also say we highly encourage that your college list includes schools other than the UCs due to the fact that their admissions rates are so low and competition to get accepted increases every year. So in order to maximize your chances of admission, you should create a balanced college list. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's not just about having a dream school and a safety school, especially in this highly competitive time. It's important for students to have realistic expectations about which colleges are the best academic, financial, and social fit. So, in other words, you should be able to identify a wide range of schools to apply to in order to maximize options. Too many reaches may leave too few or no offers of admission. And this, unfortunately, is a very common mistake students make when they are focusing on schools solely based on the name brand, right? Rather than being a good fit. So if you need any additional support with that, please do not hesitate to reach out to us via email, attend our upcoming workshops for support, or schedule an appointment. Tomorrow we will have a check-in at our Futureology Mall office. I will talk about that towards the end of the webinar as well, but you can always check our website for upcoming events to see what are some other ways we can continue to support you, because we do want to maximize your chances of admission. Okay, now moving on to the UC application itself. To create an account, you may already be aware, you need to have an email and password created, ideally an email that you create solely for the purpose of college applications. Email is pretty much the best way for colleges to get a hold of you, so you should get into the habit of checking it once a day regularly if you do not already. Getting into this habit will definitely prepare you for college, and remember to check your spam folder as well. Another common mistake students make is, first of all, not checking their email and not reading everything thoroughly, whether it is email or snail mail. So don't be that student who missed out on $25,000 scholarship because he didn't read the entire message from the school. This is the link, by the way, to the actual application. If you do not already have it bookmarked on your tabs, I would encourage you to do so it's easily accessible. Also, if you Google UC application, it will be the first link that comes up. Alrighty, so after creating your account, this is the first page you'll see as you officially work on your application. This year, the application was redesigned to have a more conversational approach. It's a lot nicer looking and a little less intimidating than the previous years. So it's kind of nice in that regard. Remember that this application is an opportunity for UCs to get to know you. Therefore, the information you provide about yourself, the more you input, the better picture they will have of you. On this page, this is a snapshot, but on this page at the bottom, you will be given an opportunity to email yourself the personal insight questions, so you have them handy in a Word doc. Rather than having to access them in the application every time you want to refer to them, you can email it to yourself, right? This is a new feature this year that is very convenient. Okay, next up, you will see this page. So when you're navigating the UC application, I want to draw some attention to the right-hand side where it has all the different sections of the UC application. Here, it pretty much allows you to fill out the sections in whatever order you prefer. However, be sure to please click save after every section. This application is very intuitive, so the information you input in previous sections does inform the following sections. Okay, so they work together like a puzzle. And keep in mind that the application runs on a 20-minute timer, so it will log you off if you are not actively working on it. Another reason to save as you work your way through it, right? Make sure you're continuously clicking save. On the top right-hand side, you can check your application status, and you can still edit information after submission if necessary, right? As long as it's before November 30th. However, you can't submit an application until November 1st. They did this to avoid accidental submissions, right, when you're not ready. On the top right-hand side as well, if you see help, you can click on that to see frequently asked questions. Great little resource there. If you ever get stuck on a question, there will be a little eye next to it, and you can click on that for more information. As you work your way through the application, you will be able to see check marks, which include what pages you have completed. Okay, great. So this is a page that I saw after I logged on, and I had worked on it for a little while. So I do want to let you know that this is what you will see after you've created an account and worked on it. You may start to panic because it says review and submit. However, I want to reassure you that this is not forcing you to submit anything. It's just like their homepage, right? Again, you're not required to submit until the November 30th deadline. So again, this is just where you can access all the different sections of the application and see them at a glance as you work your way through it. Okay, so now let's get into the first section. In the About You personal information section, this will ask for very basic information about you, right? So easy peasy stuff here. It asks for your home address, right? Make sure this is the address where you receive mail. Take your time filling it out to avoid making any silly mistakes. Further down in this section, it will ask you some questions regarding citizenship and residency. So in this section, they will ask you to input your social security. So it is important to start memorizing if you do not already have it memorized, since you will need it in the future when you apply for jobs, just FYI. But for those who do not have a social security, you can select no selection, where I have the arrow up here. Instead of the United States, just put no selection. And then on the bottom where it has the social security box itself, you can either input your DACA social, your ITIN number, or if you have none of the above, simply leave it blank. There's no advantage or disadvantage here regarding that. They are merely trying to identify you as an applicant and provide support accordingly. To be considered a California resident, the UC requires that students have a minimum of 3 years of schooling in California between K through 12, and these do not have to be consecutive years, so keep that in mind. The residency question is solely used on this application to determine whether you're going to be reviewed as an out-of-state applicant or as a California applicant, since they both have different admission requirements. For example, out-of-state applicants must have a minimum GPA of 3.4. Okay, next up we have the household and income section. Or question, should I say. So while you're filling this out, I want to reassure you that they are not using this for financial aid. They are not relying on this to determine eligibility. This question is only used to determine if you are eligible for an application fee waiver. If you do not qualify, then if you do qualify for a fee waiver, then you will be able to apply to 4 UC campuses for free. Once we get to the campus and major section, I will point out where you can see if you're eligible for the fee waivers. So right here, this arrow, that's where I was talking about. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Okay, moving along here. Next section that you will come across is related to campuses and majors. So the UC application this year has a very nice visual that allows you to see where all the UC campuses are located. So here you can click on the campuses you are interested in applying to. And it's a nice little frame of reference in case you forget which UCs are near each other or which are in NorCal or SoCal. Keep in mind, though, that each application fee per campus is $70. To see if you're eligible for a fee waiver, you can look at the bottom here by the arrow. And as I mentioned before, this application is very intuitive, which means the information you input in other sections is tied to one another. So perfect example here. I did not fill out the household income portion of the About You section. Therefore, the application is automatically determining that I do not qualify for a fee waiver and is currently showing my balance based on the 4 schools I selected. So another reminder why you always want to double check that you filled in every portion of each section completely and accurately before submitting it. Always getting another set of eyes to look things over is very helpful. So after designating which schools you want to send applications to, this will allow you to access the majors, right? When selecting the major, the application defaults to category view to see the major choices. However, UC reps recommend that applicants click on the college view instead, where I have the little black arrow there. For one reason, this makes it easier to navigate the majors. Clicking on the arrow to drop down major options will allow you to see the different majors that fall under that college, right? So in addition to that, be sure to select an alternative major in case you do not get into your first choice. It is a good strategy to select 2 majors from different colleges. So for example, if you're interested in UC Davis's computer engineering, then you could declare an alternative major in computer science, since it falls under the College of Letters and Science. Berkeley is an exception to this rule. They do not allow you to choose an alternative major. Therefore, you should definitely select your top major if you're interested in applying there. And a little caveat, but equally important and relevant here, for those of you that did select UC San Diego in this previous page as a campus that you would like to apply to, towards the bottom of this page here, it will ask you to rank the 7 different colleges on their campus. And these colleges are specific to residential situations, right? So which college or residential living community you would like to be a part of. This is meant to help them understand where you would like to live your first year. And do not worry, this does not affect your admission chances. This is, again, solely for the purpose of helping them determine where they will be placing students. So this is not tied to your major or acceptance. And definitely do your research when it comes to ranking those before you get there. Get to that part of the application. Next up is the academic history section, where you will input your high school grades, including all schools you attended from 9th to 11th grade. Be sure to select the high school you're attending first to help you see the courses specific to your school. They made it this way to make it easier for you all, okay? I do also want to mention that currently the UC is working to fix an issue with manually entered courses in the high school 9th through 12th grade page. Pretty much this issue happens when courses are entered manually without selecting the subject area or course category from the drop-down list. So just please check back in 1 week to fill out that section itself while they fix that. Meanwhile, you are definitely highly encouraged to work on other sections of the application itself. And so remember that when you do work on this section, you want to have your unofficial transcript handy right next to you. So you're inputting all of your courses accurately, right? Not putting grades that we think we want or we should have gotten, right? We're going to put it exactly how it is on our transcript. You're going to focus on the college prep courses, which are designated with a P next to it on your high school transcript. For those of you that took a foreign language in 7th or 8th grade middle school, or if you took a college level math such as algebra or geometry, you can also include that as well when you input your courses and grades. For those of you who have taken courses at Saddleback or IVC or another community or university during the summer or during the school year, be sure to include that in the college courses section. If you get stumped at all in this section or any other section, again, I encourage you to attend our college application drop-ins. I will give more information about this towards the end of the webinar. Okay, so next up, they will ask for your California State Student ID. This can be found on the bottom left-hand side of your transcript. In case you are not aware of where to find that, please refer your unofficial transcript. And following that question there, they do allow you to have an additional comment section, which is pretty awesome. This is a great way to fill in any gaps of information in your application. Please take advantage of the additional comment sections because this is another common mistake many students make, right? They leave it blank when they should be addressing parts of their application that need more explaining, right? So for example, someone who lacks after-school activities because he or she has to take multiple buses to get home, therefore they can't participate in after-school activities, or someone who had a dip in their grades one semester or one school year, right? Because they were hospitalized, maybe their parents lost their job, something else catastrophic may have happened. This is a great way to allow you to provide context. UCs look for achievement within context, okay? So again, giving the UC admissions readers an opportunity to understand, and have the bigger picture of what you experienced through high school. This is a wonderful way to pretty much relay that information. Now, again, I don't want you to think of this as a way to provide excuses, right? I want to frame it as an opportunity to provide explanations. So again, this is completely optional. However, very useful if you need to share anything else aside from what you've already shared on the application itself. Okay, now we are moving into the test scores portion of the application. So when it comes to exams, UCs will focus on your best scores, okay? They're very optimistic and positive when looking at applications. So one common mistake students make, though, when taking these exams is they opt out of the essay portion when taking the official SAT or ACT. And that's a big no-no if you are trying to apply to a UC, right? Because UCs require the essay portion. So if you did not do that in the previous SAT or ACT you took, make sure you retake it with the essay portion. And try to do this by November. The December test date would be too late for this. When you are submitting your official ACT with essay or SAT with essay scores to the UC you are applying to, keep in mind that you can send them over to one UC and they will share with all the UCs. So you don't have to worry about sending multiple scores to different UCs, okay? It's all one big system. They all share the score. When it comes to AP exams, please keep in mind if you did not score a 3 or higher, that's okay, right? UCs want to see that you followed through and took the exam. So if you scored a 2, they're not going to penalize you for it. They want to see that you, again, continued to challenge yourself and took it. So again, look at that and keep that in mind. They have a very additive process when they are looking at applicants. Another thing I want to touch on very briefly is the SAT subject tests. If you are not aware if you need to take one, it'd be a great idea to look into the school and major you're focused in. Ideally, students who will be majoring in a STEM-related major, like engineering, some science, will need to have SAT subject tests. So make sure you complete those in time. Typically, it's a Math 2 and a Science if it's specifically for STEM majors. So do your research, again, to make sure that you are fulfilling all the requirements to help you be a strong applicant. All right, so now we are at the activities and awards section. I will be spending a little bit more time here because it is an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to providing context for admissions readers. This is pretty much your chance to provide information about how you spent your time outside the classroom. Although there is enough room to tell the UC about 20 different activities and awards, you're not required to fill in every line with an activity. Quality over quantity really and truly is best here. Begin with activities you could not imagine high school without, and then go from there. This will allow you to input the most important to least important. And keep in mind that this is an opportunity for UC campuses to see what is important to you based on how you spent your time and energy during high school. So one new thing about this section in this application is that the entries are no longer restricted by category, whereas in previous years, the application here required you to select and only input by specific categories. Now you can select and input a variety of activities in a combination of categories. So this is awesome news for you all. And in addition to that, you now have more space to talk about how great you are, right? So instead of the 160 character limit, now you all have 500 to utilize in this space here. One other common mistake students make in this section in particular is that they forget to spell out acronyms. Remember that, UC readers are not aware of every single organization and club on campus in the nation, right? So you want to make sure that you're spelling it out. Now that you have a lot more room to do that, you can. And keep in mind that we, don't expect you to exaggerate, right? Don't lie about what you've done. But at the same time, also make sure you aren't being modest, right? This is your time to shine and be proud of what you've accomplished. College admissions officers can read between the lines, right? They have read thousands of applications, and we can tell when someone's not really telling the truth. So it's not worth it to risk making up stuff. And I do want to also share that the UC does audits annually, so don't put yourself in a situation where you have to explain why your application has false information. Oh yes, I also want to add that there isn't a magical number of community service hours that will guarantee admission. So just fill out what you've done if you've done community service. Fill it out to the best of your ability. Remember, you don't have to fill in every single line with an activity to get admitted. I promise. UC cares more about your leadership, depth, quality, and participation rather than a specific number of activities you participated in. If for whatever reason there isn't enough room to fully describe the depth of participation, remember the additional comment section can be used to offset whatever couldn't be used in other sections. So you can do that as well. Now, another thing I do want to share with you, a great tip, is before you input any information into the application itself in this section, I do highly encourage you to create a Google Doc where you can brainstorm, list, and edit your activities. This will allow you to access it from anywhere and also make it easier to edit and elaborate a little bit easier. And in addition, it will save you time because once you have edited, polished it, you'll be able to copy paste your information into the UC application once you're ready. Activities can include clubs, athletics, band, work, volunteer opportunities you were involved in, if you had any family responsibilities, caring for siblings, or perhaps a babysitting job. This is definitely valued and important to include here as well. For those of you who will be filling out the common application, strategy-wise, you want to work on the UC activities list first. Then you can later pick your top 10 most important activities for the common app. It's a lot easier to take away than add more activities down the line. And so now at this time, I will log on to the actual UC application itself so that I can pretty much give you some more examples of some activity descriptions. And afterwards, I will share a handout with you. So at this time, I'm going to share my screen. So it might look a little weird at first, but that's because it's trying to catch up with what I'm doing. Let us know if you have any issues seeing it. Okay, so right now I am on the application. However, I logged onto this way earlier, so it may require me to sign in again. Oh, yep, there it goes. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in one more time. So here we go. Have to remember multiple passwords. Okay, there we go. That's the right one. Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and navigate to the activities and awards section. I've already added a few to get us started, but again, I did want to go ahead and highlight here how you can make it stand out. So here I inputted that it's an extracurricular activity. I put club soccer team captain. Okay, so maybe I was a leader on my team. And as you can see at the bottom of this area in the description, I merely put member of team, led drills. Believe it or not, I've seen multiple students put this, you know, not this specifically, but describe activities very plain like this, and they don't really give themselves very much credit, right? And what I want to encourage you to do is be more intentional about sharing how great you are, right? Add a little bit more information, more details relating to how exactly you were a leader. If you were a team captain, I'm pretty sure there was a lot more involved, right? So on the bottom here, I included this, and I just put it down so that you could see the difference. I wanted to highlight the difference here. So on the bottom here, I put, instead, it'd be great if you just said, responsible for leading team through conditioning drills, pre-game warm-ups, rotating practice setup, and promoting good sportsmanship. Led team to CIF 4 years in a row. Oh, however, if you're a senior, it might be 3 years in a row, right? So again, this is just an example. And as you can see, you still have a lot of space remaining. So you have more room to share how amazing you are, how much you contributed, what different types of leadership you were able to convey to your teammates. Once you scroll down, you'll be able to share how many years and what specific school years you participated in. You want to give a roughly good estimate of how many hours and weeks were devoted to this activity. So again, a good estimate is helpful just to, again, provide some context for the UC readers so that we understand how you're spending your time. Here is another example. So here I put school newspaper editor, right? Again, another week description here about the experience, right? I am the editor for the school newspaper. Well, what we can do is we can definitely take a little bit more time here. And for example, I have another example here. We can elaborate on our responsibilities, right? Maybe as the editor, you are responsible for managing 40 of your peers, right? Through numerous newspaper editions. I've been on all your campuses and I see you all crank out multiple editions, which is pretty amazing. You're responsible for brainstorming, revising, supervising articles by peer writers for your column, right? Again, this is just another example of how to make yourself stand out and really use the space given to you. Once again, you want to share the duration and extent of your involvement. And I will share with you one last one before moving on. Here, maybe you were involved in the Africa project. You were the fundraising chair, right? So again, sometimes I see students write stuff like this. They fundraise for students in Africa. Okay, so there was some good intentions there, right? They had their energy in a good place. However, they're not really giving themselves a lot of credit with how much work, how much time, how much of an impact they truly made, right? So you really want to reflect on your contributions and highlight them. So you could potentially switch it out for something like this, right? Like successfully coordinated over 5 fundraisers to raise $3,000 to provide 3 uniforms and scholarships for every student attending the Joseph Wawaru Homeschool in Kenya. See how there's a stark difference here? I'm really trying to get you to understand that, you know, changing it up and adding more to what you've done in the descriptions can really help you be a stronger applicant. So again, keep that in mind. So now at this time, I'm going to go back to this presentation itself, and you will see my slides shortly. There we go, back here. And I'm actually going to share a handout with you. So now that we covered the activities and awards section, I'm going to share a handout. So if you look back in that little chat box area, you should be able to see a UC Activities Strategies handout. So at this moment, if you see it, go ahead and download it. You can download it and save it to your desktop at this time. So once you open it up, if you can see it on your desktop, as you can see, I kind of went over a few of them, right? You want to make sure that you're, you know, emphasizing your impact, right? You're using action words, right? Like such as responsible for, coordinated for. You are really using keywords to demonstrate your leadership skills. I went over a few of those examples with you all through the application itself. However, you can reference this handout on your own when you are working on your activities list at home. Okay? If you were not able to download it, I will include it in the email when I send out the handouts and the PowerPoint itself. Okay, so now we're moving into the scholarship and program section. So here you should carefully fill in this section in order to increase your opportunities for scholarship and program considerations. In this section, there are various checkboxes that will allow you to share some of your affiliations, such as being related to a Marine, maybe you are a foster youth or first-generation college student, right? Carefully browse through this section and check off all the boxes that apply to you in order to maximize your opportunities to be matched with great opportunities, such as scholarships and programs. And so in addition to scholarships, I also want to make sure to remind you to complete your FAFSA or DREAM Act to get the most financial aid possible, okay? Regardless of how much your family makes, this is one of the main points that they look at in order for you to be considered for scholarships. So please, I encourage you to do that as well. And also, as I mentioned before, this application is intuitive. So if you decide to add a UC, in your application that you maybe weren't applying to in the beginning, make sure that you go back to this section, because for every school you add, it allows you to see new opportunities that are available to you. So you can take advantage and click on those as well. So every section kind of influences the next. Next up, for those of you, if your parents do not have a 4-year bachelor's degree, here in the United States, you are considered a first-generation college student. There are support programs available to you, such as EOP, Education Opportunity Program. Again, so for those of you going to be the very first in your family, I highly encourage you to apply to this program by responding to the question, why are you interested in EOP? This program will provide mentoring and support during your college career, and it will help connect you to other students who are experiencing very similar issues. Okay, and for this question in particular, UC is hoping to gain more information on how the student plans to take advantage of this program and how students will benefit from the resources. Okay, and so next up, everyone that's applying to the UC has a common fear, right? The PAQs. And funny enough, UC representatives all share one pet peeve. They do not like to hear people refer to their personal insight questions as essays. For one main reason, okay? You call it an essay, students begin to write it like an essay, which goes against what the UCs want to see. And this should not happen. PAQs are not academic exercises, so a structure of an introduction, thesis, conclusion, that doesn't benefit you at all. Don't think of this as creative writing, okay? You should approach these PAQs like job interview questions. Get straight to the point. You're limited to 350 words, therefore you should avoid flowery language. We're gathering information and wherever we can find it. Sometimes the PAQs are a gold mine and sometimes they're a coal mine, depending on how students answer them. So keep that in mind. And just like the activities list, it's best to work on these on a Google Doc where you can brainstorm, make changes, edit before you actually enter them into the application itself. Especially if you only get 20-minute timer to work on this application, keep that in mind. You must answer only 4 out of the 8 options. UC does not have a preference for any particular prompts, so it is wise to select prompts that allow you to share your story. So in other words, if you're struggling to answer a specific prompt, it may be wise for you to select other ones where you have more to say. So now at this time, I want to go ahead and share a file with you. If you have any issues getting started, please feel free to start with College Essay Guys Values brainstorming exercise. Go ahead and download the file, save to your desktop. This is a great way to get the ball rolling because once you understand what your priorities are, you'll be able to see what matters to you and how you can connect this to future majors, future campuses, future careers, and could potentially help you with your prompts. So that's one file. And the last handout I will share was created by the UC system itself. This is again meant to help you brainstorm. So this handout really helps you frame the prompts in a different way. So for example, like the first prompt that examines leadership experience, you want to rethink what the word leader means. It's more than just a title, it's about actions. So you can also save this to your desktop and reference it as well. If you are still stumped and need some more support, you can utilize our resources, which I will highlight shortly. Okay, alas, we reached the end of the application. Once you've completed every section, I highly encourage you to go through and double check everything. Have a parent or family friend look it over too, so you have another set of eyes. Remember, students are randomly selected for verification, so make sure your application is truthful and accurate. Try to get some feedback before you submit your application. After you submit your application, you'll be directed to pay for the applications itself unless you've received fee waivers. And after submitting, pay attention to your email. As I mentioned, this is how colleges will communicate and email you next steps, whether it's creating a student portal or submitting any additional information. After you're admitted, ensure you submit your SIR, Statement of Intent to Register, by May 1st, which includes an enrollment fee. There is no refund for your SIR deposit. So if you submitted an SIR to a UC campus, but change your mind and want to send an SIR to another UC school, you must notify the first school so you don't get dropped from both campuses. Be sure to submit your final transcript to the school that admits you and requests it. Please do not start sending transcripts right now. The UCs don't want them, right? Their offices are flooded with transcripts right now. Again, wait until the schools request them. This is typically before the school year is over, and yes, you guessed it, you will be submitting them through Parchment, something your academic advisors can help you with as well. Okay, at last, I've kind of alluded to this multiple times, but I do want to reassure you, aside from our webinar, we do have additional support opportunities available to you. We will be available as a drop-in basis. You do not need to schedule an appointment for essay or PIQ support. Or if you need just another set of eyes to look at your application, we will be at Cal Prep Academy. Feel free to join us any one of those days. For feedback on your PIQs or college essays, we do require that you submit them at least 24 hours to the workshop itself. And you can send it to CUSD-Futureology@capousd.org. Feel free to always check our website for upcoming events and times. Okay, so now at this time, I am going to open it up for questions. Let's see. There are a few.
What is SIR?
Oh, sorry. Okay, so SIR, I just mentioned it right now. So an SIR, great question, by the way. An SIR is the Statement of Intent to Register. So pretty much you're just submitting your enrollment fee and you're saying, I'm going to attend your school, right? So this is something that you will be able to submit to the school after they have admitted you, okay? All right, so let's see. Are there any other questions here? I think my partner has done a great job of answering some of these.
Yeah, if you want to just clarify, there is an SAT question. A lot of the students are asking, are SAT subject tests required? Yeah, our SAT subjects are required. And
sorry, your microphone is on, right?
No, it's not.
Okay, so can you turn it on? Sorry. Go ahead.
The question, I have a couple of questions that we're asking about SAT subject exams. So is it a good time to just send any of your scores? Is there a certain score to send? Since UC do not require it, when is a good time to show your scores?
Gotcha. Okay, so I see that Naomi started to answer this already. So I'm going to, sorry, can you mute your microphone? Thank you. Perfect. So when it comes to the SAT subject tests, again, it's just based on which schools require them, right? So you want to go ahead and submit your official scores once you're ready, once you've completed them. As I mentioned before, UCs do not hold it against you if you have a low score or if you take it, a couple times. So you can go ahead and submit it after you've received your official score. Let's see, I see another question just came in. Is there a benefit to sending your application on November 1st versus November 30th? Actually, there isn't, okay? They're all going to be reviewed equally, right, by two different UC readers. They're all going to be reviewed at the same time. They do not give priority to any early submitted applications.
Mute it.
Oh, sorry. One last question. Hold on.
Did you mute it? Mute your. Oh, yeah. So I would say that I wouldn't wait till the last minute of November 30th. You don't want to do it at 11:59 p.m. and then realize your internet isn't working. So still give yourself, I would say, at least a week ahead if you can for that. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Thank you. All right. So is there an additional cost for registering for 2 majors at UC? Tarek, no, there is not. However, it will prolong graduation a little bit if you are doing 2 majors. Just keep that in mind. But they won't cost you more for the UC application. Okay, let's see. We have a few more questions here. Oh, I see a lot of people last time. Okay, sorry. So hopefully you were able to hear the last couple of questions I answered. Maddie here has a couple questions for us. So what do I do if I cannot find a class I took in the class options and can't find it in the manual entering section either? I took health and CCP. Also, I took Saddleback class, but cannot find the class in one of the options. So how do I find it? Great questions. So UC doesn't care about your CCP or health classes, actually. So you don't need to worry about adding those. So good question. Don't worry about those. Saddleback classes, you will enter in the college section. Okay, so you should be able to input those there. Do we need to get a separate transcript from Saddleback? Yes. If a class you take shows up on a college transcript, you will definitely want to include and submit that one as well to the schools that admit you. Okay, so great questions. Keep that in mind. All right, Christiana is asking about essays required for UCs and teacher recommendations. I'm guessing maybe you joined us a little late. Personal insight questions are the writing prompts for UCs. So if you're referring to those, there is some writing involved. Yes. As far as teacher recommendations, no, there is no letters of recommendations required for UCs. Ryan, I answered your question, and I think that's when I got cut off. Sorry. So no, the UC does not have preferences on PIQs, regardless of your major. Okay, they have no preferences whatsoever. Okay, and as I mentioned before, I am a UC reader, so I can say that with 100% confidence. Nick, is there any reason to submit both my ACT and SAT scores if one is better? Nope, you can submit the best one if you prefer. Again, they're only going to focus on your best scores, so ultimately it's up to you.
When did the essay subject test due? Someone was asking you, can you submit it as late as December?
With SAT subject tests and SAT ACT tests, again, you want to err on the conservative side and try to do these by the November deadline, just to ensure that your application has a competitive chance at being reviewed.
Yeah, I will send you guys a link.
Is your microphone on?
No. Oh.
Sorry, can you turn it on? I'm going to mute mine.
I'm sending you guys a link of information about the UC SAT subject exams, so certain colleges will care for it or recommend it. Again, remember, not all of them require it, but if you feel like your scores are strong in that section, then I recommend that you go ahead and submit it. I believe in that regard, yeah, November would be ideal, not December. So if we find something different, we'll definitely follow up with you on that.
Yes, the sooner the better. Okay, last one. We're going to answer this last question because we do have the common application happening right after this one. Alex, even though the UC system doesn't, how do we submit our letters?
You don't.
Sorry, this is not relevant for this application. So if you're looking at common application questions, tune into the next one. The next webinar will be taking place. For those of you that have any follow-up questions, maybe we didn't have time to answer them here, please look at the chat box or the screen. We have different emails you can use. CUSD-Futureology at CapelUSD would be the best one, or mine as well. So you can definitely, so you can definitely utilize that, and we will get back to you within one or 2 days. Again, I definitely encourage that you all utilize these emails. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
We'll have copy and paste my link so that they can.
Did you send it to me? Yes, you did. Common App.
So just tell them. You can click on it.
Okay. Oh, I have to pull it up on Webinar Jam.
Okay. If you don't have it.
No, I don't have it. Can you send it again? So I got it. Okay. So sorry. So for those of you who will be joining us to for the common application webinar, I will include the link now in the chat box, so you can simply click on that and open it in a new window so you can continue joining with us. Thanks again for joining us tonight. And again, please feel free to email us if we didn't get a chance to answer your question. All right. Thank you. This is Jennifer. Thanks again for joining us. And thanks to Naomi for joining me. Bye.
They won't let me log on.